So guys, this is an episode covering the apprehension and exposing of one of the alleged accomplices of the Nigerian serial ritual killing ritualist who has been picked up just some few days ago. If you're not aware of that story, I have episodes of it running and I'm bringing you all the updates and sequels of it that is still unraveling as the investigations continue. This is one of the episodes, and today we are going to look at this guy by name Kingsley Uche, aka Agumba, aka the Lion King. Now this guy, per what he's been alleged to have done, seems to be a holy guy during the day and a terror during the night. He is presumed to be a devout Christian and a trader, but wait till you hear the details of what is unraveling, and then you realize that not all that glitters is actually gold. And it is very important that you don't compare yourself to people's progress and feel like you are left behind, or that you are not worth it, or that maybe your God has even abandoned you. Never do that. Let's see what this guy did. Now, by all outward appearances, Kingsley Uche, who is popularly known as Agumba, was a model Christian businessman. He was a native of a town called Eziegu in the state of Enugu in Nigeria, and he ran a thriving business dealing in building and furniture materials at a famous market called Ariaria in Aba. So you would see that this guy seems to have his life figured out, a young guy working hard, putting in the work, It's like his life is together and he is doing his best. Now you see this guy flaunting on social media. And I've always been saying this. Most of the times, it's the people who are doing the evil and profiting. They would come to social media and put out the motivational messages, put out the spiritual biblical quotations, and even say that God told them to do something and they did it. And you would have the true Christians, the true believers, the true spiritualists who are trying to do good and tow the good path in achieving wealth, who are biding their time and striving patiently but still not fully successful, feeling bad when they see such Facebook and social media posts, because they begin to feel like maybe God has abandoned them, or maybe they are not worthy. And that, I think, is a very big problem. So Kingsley was known as a very, very successful businessman who has been working hard, and he's also seen to be a very spiritual person, to the extent that it's reported that he's a staunch Christian and he has several cars. And if you look at his cars, as is typical in Africa, you would see that he has posters of Jesus Christ and some posters of his church plastered all around his cars. Now, I've been saying this as well. There is no need for me to convince you that I believe in Jesus Christ or I am Muslim or whatever. Whatever my faith is between myself and my God. Mostly, I have question marks when people are trying so hard to make everybody see where their faith is. You don't owe it to anybody to do that. Sometimes you see that people are overcompensating for what they know they really are. But that's just by the way. So, his life was seemingly rooted in faith. His cars, shops, and personal belongings were all plastered with stickers from his prominent Pentecostal ministry. There are even reports that he is a staunch, devout church member and he has key positions in his church. They reverend him. He has that reverence from people. And to many who knew him, he was a spirit-filled man who never missed a church service. You see, I know people who haven't been to church in the last 3 to 4 years, but they are very principled people who toe the line of virtue, ethics, and integrity. They live by principles that, for me, I think that it guides them so well. They don't have room for hypocrisy. But there are some people who are in church every day and they are caught in the nastiest of things. This is not me judging. This is me telling you my observation. And this, I'm sure, is something you see around you too. So this is Kingsley. And little did people know that beneath that religious facade that he was parading, there was a chilling secret. Now, this is what the secret was. It's been alleged that in all this, or let me say underneath all this, Kingsley Uche had carefully curated a double life. And this double life came crashing down when he and a group of men attempted to take a 13-year-old girl for some money-making rituals. And that is where it ties back in to the case of the serial ritualist, who I have done a video on as an unfolding case currently ongoing in Nigeria. Pregnant women, or let me say the remains of pregnant women, were found in his house. The remains of other people were also found in his house. It turns out that Kingsley Uche is one of the people who got apprehended allegedly for trying to take that 13-year-old girl, and that apprehension is what ended up unraveling the whole thing that they were doing and led to the arrest of Ideplay, that spiritual so-called self-money-making ritualist. Now, their plot, however, was foiled. Their plot to take that 13-year-old girl, Kingsley and his team, their plot were foiled by alert youths in the community. And like I've said, in that dramatic turn of events, Kingsley was caught and paraded through that village. So it was during this time that they gave him a very brutal interrogation, and he dropped that bombshell. His arrest led to the exposure of their ringleader, who I've told you is the feared native doctor or ritualist known as Eziani, or Ideplay Ideshu. So at that point, many thought it was just an isolated crime, but then it turned that he was actually part of something darker, and that he was part of a suspected network involving rituals and cultic practices at the extent and expense of human life. Now, for the people who are familiar with the Area market, the revelations about Kingsley Uche being a suspected money ritualist who acquires his money at the expense of people's life was beyond unbelievable for them, because they were wondering, how could a man so publicly committed to his faith also be entangled in such diabolical acts? Now, the answer for me, my answer is, why isn't he able to do that? Or why do you think he's beyond or above that? I've always been saying that most often than not, what you see things to be is not what they are. Most people are wearing masks. There's an old Japanese saying that most people are wearing masks, and they have what they want you to see and what they don't want you to see. And I second that 100%. Most people are wearing masks, especially when it comes to people trying to look like they are religious and virtuous. Most people are so evil, the devil sometimes has to sit and take notes, because he realizes that those guys can't take his position. Because if you look at what was unraveled in this case, it's so terrifying that the remains of a pregnant woman have been found as having been used for money rituals, remains of other people. I'm bringing out another episode again where a student went missing, and one of the accomplices of Uche Kingsley has allegedly confessed that the student is also one of their victims. And you see the student's colleagues. I'll show you that video, where in the video you see them closing from school, going to the premises of the head ritualist to go and put out a curse on him and his generations. That is how nasty this case is becoming. And I tell you, I am not surprised at any of these things. And I say this for a fact, because like I told you, most of the times people are not what they seem, and a lot of people are resorting to cutting corners because they believe they can get away with it. They believe that the most important thing is to make the money, and that the end will justify the means. A lot of people don't really care who they hurt to get the money, and a lot of people have even defeated and just erased their conscience, so much so they could do the most vile and evil things and they can sleep peacefully at night. This is the world we live in now, although there are still some few good people, and if you meet one of such few good people, hold on tightly to them, because they are getting more scarce. So this is the update, and as it stands now, this so-called or previously so-called devout Christian Kingsley Uche, aka Agamba, is now in the grips of the law, and he's been exposed. But I think he should be investigated deeper. Questions should be looked at and placed on him around his entire life. Has he had any girlfriends going missing? Has he had any loved ones going missing? As far as the reports are concerned, he's not married. He has no kids. But has any of his family members gone missing? Any friends? Anyone tied to him in any way gone missing? These guys are making money off the lives and blood of people and coming back to donate to the society and look like they are philanthropic. That is crazy. Please, wherever you are, whoever you are, I don't know which part of the world you may be watching this from, respect your hustle. Respect the people who are doing diligent work and biding their time to build wealth. Sometimes societal pressure is one of the reasons people resort to this, although it's not an excuse. But I think that given the fact that these guys, after going the evil way, will turn to the society to prey on the society and the innocent children and vulnerable pregnant women, it's very important the society is very careful in the expectations it places on people, such that they don't become so desperate they resort to these tactics and turn back onto the society and against it. Subscribe if you are yet to do so. I'm coming out with more episodes. Stay tuned to this channel, and as you watch this, share with people, let them learn what is going on. I'm telling you, these types of evil are closer to you than you think. I'm bringing out another one where a pastor is suspected to have ended the bloodline of his neighbor by getting his driver to do that. 4 kids. Look, don't take these things for granted. Don't think it's some fiction. These are people's lives being touched and destroyed. Share and let people watch and learn so that you all stay alert. For me, I've always been repeating this quote that a little bit of paranoia keeps everybody safe. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe out there.